you're building a product, you're obviously super technical and you understand like the background for maybe spotting like what is a GPT wrapper versus something that's a bit more innovative. Like what's your litmus test for knowing whether a new AI feature, a new product or integration is genuinely useful versus just hype or another wrapper? Like how do you cut through the noise there?
I think it goes back to the transparency and visibility aspect behind how these products think. If they're not giving me that, it almost is kind of step one of
Mm,
uh, I don't know if this is as effective as it could be because I want to know how they're coming up with the answers, right? It's magical that these tools can do this and spit out the answers for you so quickly. Um, but I need to know where it's coming from. And so I would say that's the first thing. But there's a lot of tools out there where you plug in your question or it's positioned at a specific thing. And then what you get back is the same answer that you'd get from ChatGPT, right? So it also goes back to that point of opinions and sources. Are these tools actually rooted in a methodology? How much is feeding that context behind the answers that it's giving you? How structured is it? Those things really are easy to spot with some of these tools, whether they have them or not. And I think the most effective ones for us right now are the ones that do have an opinion and can show us the transparency behind how they work. I'd go a step further too to say I think 2024 was a lot of that vaporware. Let me just throw this new skin on top of one of these models. But I think this year it's been really fun to watch the agent architecture and like people who are doing that really well. Because the biggest thing for me personally that I look for right now is can I plug my data architecture into your tool and make use of that? So it's exciting that that's where we are now versus just kind of the surface layer chat GPT like tools.
Yeah, you've actually used terms like nudge and removing operational drag to describe some of the vision of the product capabilities that you're building. Maybe on this like topic of figuring out what is kind of hype and what is a bit more interesting and serious. Like, what does that actually look like? Like systems that nudge and think, and can you maybe give us an example of a workflow or system that intelligently guides a team through execution without slowing them down? Curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, one of the applications that we built a couple years ago, it's called Creative Affinity, and it's for our paid social, paid media, and creative teams. And the differentiator, because there's obviously a ton of different creative reporting tools out there, but the differentiator for us is that first party data aspect. So, what we built in the back end of our tool is an algorithm that's able to match an actual customer from their customer bank to the creative that that customer engaged with, purchased through, all of that. And then what we show is the value of those customers tied back to the creative. That was the first step in kind of giving all of that data to everybody. And it was, again, that mistake of just give them all the data and hope that something comes from it. Um, they looked at it and they said, "There's so much to dig through here." I think we had like 1,000,000 creative assets in this application, and they're like, "I have no direction on where to go here. This is great,
Right.
but, this would take me days to look through." And so very quickly, it turned into how do we nudge people along into the right direction, or how do we give them the right focus when there's this much data out there? And so we ended up building a feature called playbooks, and these playbooks are using the same data source or using that data from the application, but condensing it down into what's most important to see, or what are the top creatives, or what are the insights that you should really grab from all of this. And all of those playbooks that we built are basically the brains of the top strategists within our creative, paid social, and paid media teams. So it's a matter of scale because now we have basically their brains backed into how they would look at the data and identify insights. But now I can give that to 200 other employees and say, here are the insights and here's the way to think about this data. So that's how that's just one example of how we're kind of nudging people in the right direction of the way to think about things and even draw inspiration from that.
Mm. Super cool. It reminds me of something else that you said, like the best tools treat users as decision makers, not operators. How do you think that's like changed your approach to product design for Nova and some of the other tools that you rolled out internally? Can you maybe share like a couple of tactical ways where the tools reduce the number of steps but increase the number of clarity for like users, especially like on the agency side that, like you said, are overloaded with a bunch of insights and not really sure what to do with them?
Yeah. Yeah, we've built a backbone of what we would call like a knowledge graph where there's a little bit more context and description behind the metrics that are available within the platform. That's where like that opinion layer comes from and just gives a little bit more information behind what some of this data means. Um, and where we took that is really being able to serve up those insights to people, but not necessarily say this is exactly what to do next. And so they have different options, right? If somebody gets an alert through the platform that's like, hey, we just noticed that this customer segment from our customer insights application, we noticed this customer segment uh, could drive 20% increase in your lifetime value for customers who have bought 3 times. Like it's very specific, but we don't necessarily say like send that to the client or take this action right now. We give them the options. We say draft email or draft Slack or put this into the next weekly update for a client or try again. Like, no, this doesn't make sense. And when they hit try again, then it's add more context. Why does this not work? What is it? And so we start to build that system even more.
Hmm.
But I would say from like the design side of things and how the application kind of comes together for people is we want it to be we want it to give people direction. We don't want it to be rigid in terms of this is exactly what you need to do. And that's really important and is highlighted in the design of the application itself of uh, the flexibility and the capabilities that they have to kind of make it personalized to them.